Hey, what's up, guys? How you doing? So recently there was an interview with Phil Spencer on the Fortune magazine, and the question that was being asked and talked about is the upcoming X Cloud, Project X Cloud, which is the ability for you to be able to take your collection of video games that you have on the Xbox and just stream it onto your phone, tablet, computer, laptop, etc., on the go, wherever it is that you go, you'll be able to stream it. And the question's been asked, like, why hasn't this been done before? And in my honest opinion, is because technology hasn't caught up with it yet to be really that successful in terms of streaming. But now, with much faster, better servers out there, I think the xCloud will definitely give us that great opportunity to take our Xbox experience on our phones. And I'm kind of excited about the xCloud. As a matter of fact, I'm more excited about the xCloud than I am about the Google Stadia, because the difference between these two are gigantic. Because Google Stadia, number one, it's expensive. You know, you do have to pay for these individual games to play them, and then you have to stream them, and then you have to be dependent on the internet to stream it. With Xbox Cloud, you already have your Game Pass. You already have your collection of the games. You're just paying a little fee for the service that you're using on the xCloud, and at the same time, you can take that experience and all your games that you have. You can take it on your phone. That's such a great, great deal to me that I can click on that app and I can play Gears 5, Metro Exodus, all these games I can play them. Forza 7, imagine it, playing Forza 7, Forza Horizon, playing all these games on the phone. But here, we can listen to Phil Spencer a little bit and what he has to say. And what he actually said here is pretty awesome. You know, he said basically to the question, like, how do you see this business model competing with the others, and why now? He meant with the Google Stadia. And the way he answered it is basically, well, it's not about what the Microsoft wants, it's about what the gamers want, what the people want. So we want to give people what they want. And what people want is they want to have more freedom, more flexibility, more value on their Xbox systems. And I think what Phil Spencer is doing here, I think Sony should watch out. I think even Jack, the previous CEO of Sony, Jack Tratton, I think that's his name, Jack. He said basically that, sorry for forgetting his last name, but his name is Jack T. Trenton something. He said on his tweet that he's excited about PlayStation 5, but Sony should also keep a close eye on the Microsoft and what they're doing, because what Microsoft is doing, it's really expanding. It's expanding their brand. It's kind of like HBO. They're expanding their brand. They're giving everyone the ability to truly enjoy the brand on their PCs, on their cell phones, on their tablets, their computers. They're really expanding the branding where you at the point you won't even need a console, but you'll be able to have one if you choose to do so on your television. So that's something Sony needs to be keeping an eye on very closely. But anyway, why don't we just listen to what he has to say, and then we'll continue after that.
Transformation that Satya has driven at the company, and you can see this in a lot of areas. You can see him standing in front of a sign that says Microsoft loves Linux.
Yeah,
you can see Microsoft buying GitHub in a community of open source, when we have previous statements about open source and its impact on Microsoft, and here we are, embracing these scenarios. Really gets back to that focus on the customer and what the customer needs. Customer doesn't care about Microsoft needs. It cares about what Microsoft can do to help with the customer needs. We have a customer that wants to be entertained. They want to play. They want to connect to their community. I'd say the xCloud specific question of invested in xCloud before is because if you say, and we actually built something, it was called Project Rio. We built something that we showed some partners of. We were streaming Xbox games to PCs, and we were showing how this was possible. We were testing latency. It's been, I think, 5-6 years ago that we were doing that. In fact, some of the team that's on Stadia was part of that project.
That's hysterical.
But
that's awesome.
It's good. I mean, it's a small industry. We're always learning from each other. But I think what happened at the end of that, one, there were kind of technical and cost issues for us. But also it was like, okay, well, what goal does this serve to have games that aren't running on a device when so much they're being streamed to that device when so much of the business that we were in was selling a device.
Yeah.
And when you flip that model and you just say, no, it's really just about how can you reach as many customers as possible in a delightful way that gives them enjoyment and lets them play. It is liberating to say, okay, now something like streaming to any device, streaming to an Android phone,
right.
It makes complete sense because that's where the customers are.
Right.
We don't have to replace Android phones. They already have an Android phone. It works perfectly well for what that user wants to do. And oh, what do you know? We can bring immersive games to it. The other thing that happened at the same time in parallel was Microsoft's investment in Azure.
Yeah.
Globally. It's a huge investment in the company and invest with capital expenditure that Amy and Scott got through. Yeah. So as we are now looking at, I'd say, the technical requirements of xCloud, of having servers that are as close to as possible to our end users to reduce latency, and the technical work we're doing hand in hand with the Azure team to enable these scenarios, that infrastructure that the Azure team has built in the interim time between Project Rio and where we sit today is incredibly useful as the team is looking at where we're deploying the xCloud servers, what infrastructure we can use. There's already cement poured. There's already power and cooling into these buildings. There's already people to go monitor all of the machines that are running there. I mean, these are fully operational data centers, and we can roll in now and put our xCloud hardware in place. And the cost for us doing that is significantly lower than it would have been 6 or 7 years ago because of all the progress that Azure's made.
Who's
So very interesting stuff here. What he just said, what you were listening to him answering the question regarding the whole business model as to why they're doing the streaming services now, and the good question that was, but it also was the good answer that he answered, Mr. Phil Spencer, by saying that, well, at the time it was not ready, so now them partnering up with the Azure, they're able to test in course of 5-6 years, they're able to test and see how well these servers work. As a matter of fact, Phil Spencer was beta testing it himself when he flew to Japan, to Asia, when he was traveling. He would take his phone, he'd be playing it, Fortnite, or not a Fortnite, but the one game that he plays all the time, which is, what was the game that he played, that he always plays? Dynasty? What was it? Anyway, I forgot the name, but it's one of the games that he plays all the time, and it's designed by Bungie, Destiny. He was playing Destiny 2. He was testing the Destiny 2 when he flew to Japan, when he flew to China, Australia, etc., Mexico. So he was able to play it, and it worked fine. So what I'm trying to say here is now's ready. The reason he's finally bringing out the xCloud is because now they are ready. Now they have all the cement pour in. They tested it. He tested it. If it didn't work, he definitely would have said, "Hey, we shouldn't be using this service because it's not working that well." And I'm very confident that the xCloud, it's going to be a great service at the minimum cost, because even he said that it would cost them a hell of a lot more if they were doing it by themselves independently, but them teaming up with the Azure and then partnering up with them and doing all this constructive work in past few years building these servers, it's going to show up significantly this holiday season. And this is why I'm more what I'm trying to say here is this is why I'm more excited about xCloud than I am with Google Stadia. My biggest issue and problem with Google Stadia is that the pricing. They're going to let the third parties put a bunch of prices on it. You have to pay for the Google Stadia service. You have to pay for the game. And then the pricing of these games, the third parties will put it there and they'll choose what the pricing of their games should be. And to me, it just seems like you're spending a hell of a lot of money for the controller, for the device, for the service. I think you're spending too much money on Google Stadia on top of the games, where basically you paying money for something that you don't own. That's the biggest worry that I have with the Google Stadia. I'm not saying that the Google Stadia will not be able to achieve what they're saying that they can achieve. I'm pretty sure they'll be able to hit that 4K. It's going to look, at times, it's probably going to look pixelated here and there once in a while. And you'll be able to tell that it's being streamed. But, again, I really have a difficult time paying for something that I don't own. You know, it's like you paying for a movie that you don't own. The feeling of paying for something that you actually own and you have it in your hands and you can play it anytime you want, it's the greatest feeling. The feeling of you paying for a service that's very expensive, and on top of that service you have to have a really good internet, and on top of that you're paying for the internet, you still have to pay for these games, and these games are dependent on the servers and internet connection. So that right there, I just don't see how's that gonna work out. With the xCloud, it's different. What the Xbox is doing, what the Phil Spencer is doing here, and this is the important part that I'm trying to come across here. What Phil Spencer is doing is he's trying to give Xbox Live, Windows, games to Windows owners a choice on how they want to play the brand. It really does what it is. He's trying to give Xbox owners a choice on how they want to play the games. Do you want to play on your television when you're at home, or do you want to play it on your PC? Do you want to play it on your laptop, or do you want to play it on your phone? He really wants to give a best possible, flexible variety of experiences for the Xbox members. And I think if you're part of that brand, you're definitely going to benefit, because that means that you're going to have variety of choices and variety of ways for you to enjoy that brand. And I think slowly Sony is starting to notice that. And I think this is why Jack, the previous CEO, says that Sony shouldn't be just focused on the exclusives. Yes, they're important, but they should also focus on this. Because this is something that this culture is slowly taking into. You know, they want to be able, the millennials like to have their experience anywhere they go, and they're always on the go. Okay, so they like to have their experience with them everywhere they go. And I think this is the new trend, this is the new thing, the new cultural thing, where people like to take their stuff with them everywhere they go. And Phil Spencer saw that. I think he sees, because he is in touch with the gaming community, and that's the difference between, I think, others and Phil, because Phil is in touch with the gaming community. Now, people also have to remember that Phil Spencer inherited a major mess in 2013. It took him a while to reconstruct, almost like a reconstructive surgery. It took him a long time to reconstruct and reboot the Xbox brand, because he inherited the mess in 2013, while the PlayStation already had a boost with Jack. So they were already taking off in 2013. So people need to remember that. That's the very key important to remember. So yes, Xbox was falling behind when it comes to the exclusives. But even though there were some exclusives out there, it's not like totally there's no exclusives, but they were not the new IP exclusives that maybe we were hoping for. But I see and I hope that you guys see the greater scheme, the grand vision as to what Phil Spencer wants to achieve here. And I think what Phil Spencer wants to achieve here, it's exactly that. He wants to broaden up this brand. He wants this brand to be something that you can enjoy anywhere and how you want to enjoy it, any which way you like to enjoy it. And I think that's a great thing. I would love to see Sony do the same thing. I would love to play God of War on a PC. Who is with me? Don't tell me you wouldn't like to play God of War on a PC. 8K resolution or cranked up all the graphics settings and everything. Of course you would love to play God of War on your PC. Wouldn't you like to play Spider-Man on your PC with the ultra-wide screen? Of course you would. Wouldn't you like to play Gran Turismo Sport on your PC? Of course you would. I would love to see Sony do the same. Honestly. And hopefully, maybe that's where we're going to see this whole thing move forward. And these are very exciting times. I think 2020 and beyond, it's going to be very exciting time for gaming. And I think this is going to be totally new direction in 2020 and beyond as to where we're going with this new, totally brand new generation of gaming. And 2020 and beyond, it's going to be a very, very exciting and very interesting time for the gamers, especially for us who are old geezers. You know, I'm already old geezer, but especially for me to be living through this whole entire evolution of gaming, it's very interesting to see how this is going to move forward. Now, I'm not going to play through this entire interview, but maybe we can listen to one more question that he asked. But I totally agree with Phil Spencer here. I like the interview and what he said here. It's something that I get it. You know, I understand his vision. A lot of Xbox owners, they don't understand. And the reason they hit the dislikes and the reason they have issue with Phil Spencer is because they don't see the bigger picture. And this goes for some Xbox owners. Some Xbox owners, they don't see the bigger picture. You know, I see the bigger picture. I see the bigger picture, and I see the grand vision as to where Phil Spencer wants to take this. And it's exactly what I've been saying. He wants to take this brand called the Xbox and have you enjoy this brand any which way you like. And that's good. That's also good for the competitors, because Sony might do the same thing. Sony might have to do the same thing. And that's great if Sony chooses to go the same route as the Microsoft. That would be awesome. Cross-platform only benefits us as gamers. Like I said, I want to play God of War on the PC. I want to play The Last of Us on the PC. I want to play all these games, exclusives, Uncharted, Sony games on the PC as well. Why not? All right, but let's listen to one more question in the interview here. Let's do that really quick.
Signing off on where they get which facilities
it's
gets to happen.
It's all.
So
I mean,
you're looking at what's the criteria that you're looking for? I mean, people say the use case. I've heard, well, let's think about gamers in Africa, but realistically, is that where the stuff is going to come online first?
So the first thing you want to do in this world is enable your developers. So really one of the first criteria is where are the people building games? Because you want to have your creators seeing their game on that device, in this case,
right,
an Android device, as soon as possible in the development process, so they can actually interact. In fact, people who are building Xbox games right now, today, they have an API call that they can call on the Xbox to query to say, okay, is this game being streamed right now or not? It's already in the API. And so developers can already start thinking about, well, what is it going to mean to stream this game? Do I want to change the font size a little bit because the phone's a little bit smaller?
Yeah, that's a big concern.
There's,
a very big concern.
And I love the fact that the thousands of games that are in development for Xbox right now, are already cloud aware. Even if, as you said, like, you don't have billions of people on the planet streaming their games, but the content creation process is already aware of this scenario, and we have all of these developers already engaged on the platform, and they're able to use this. So the first level deployment first is obviously here in the development team. How do we put in our first servers went into Quincy, Washington, so that the team here could actually start using the service, because you need to enable your own team. Then we start looking at our third-party developers and saying, okay, where are the big development centers on the planet, and let's make sure we have xCloud blades in the places that are close to the developers. And then, yeah, the next criteria in the rollout is, okay, now we've got the content creation enabled. Let's go put servers in places where we want to actually get end user usage.
And end users, right?
That's right. And
where's the heavy concentration of third-party developers?
If you look at the planet today, there's Japan, Asia, there's U.S., there's west coast of the U.S., there's some in kind of Hunts Valley, Maryland area, if you just think about. Then there's the U.K., right, has quite a few developers. And that might not be where usage ends up in the end when we start thinking about that developer map. But if you look at where your big publishers are.
But the big publisher, you got to build where the publishers are.
That's right, where the creators are.
And is that where some of the facilities are now?
That's right.
Region? Okay,
yeah.
That's really cool.
I mean, interesting. Because you want that developer, when they're building a game that's shipping 2 or 3 years from now, to be able to easily deploy to a data center that's close to where they are, to be able to pick up a phone and easily just boot the game and say, I wonder what it looks like right now. It's the same thing we do on the dev kits sitting on their desk when they're building games, is you want them to be able to experience the game in every context in which it'll get played. This is a future context in which it'll get played on xCloud, but we already have developers that are just interested, and I want to see what my game looks like.
Yeah, they want to test this out, right?
That's right.
They want to do this. And how long have they been testing it out? Can you say that? Or?
We put the video, the announced video was in October. I would say developers first saw their games, shipped games. We kind of showed them last year at E3. We were doing some behind closed doors stuff. That was more shipped games, and we just hand them. They always wanted to see their own games, start playing with it. I'd say it's really this year that developers can start feeling what games in development might look like on the phone. So we're kind of in the 2019 is when we've started to deploy these things in the space.
Well, this is also interesting because what Phil Spencer is doing, as you just heard, they're trying to build these server centers on the West Coast, near the developers, the UK, Midwest, and of course Japan, Asia. So they're trying to build these data centers. They want to build them near where these developers are, so that way they can easily just upload their game at the same time they release it onto the cloud. And it's good that they're giving them this ability to test their games that they're working on right now currently to scale, if you for the lack of a better term, to scale these games onto the portable device like a phone, and I think that's going to be a major important thing for bringing that television experience on your console and then bringing it onto a small device like this, something like this, like your phone. I think that's going to be very important because we want to make sure that when we want to play a game like a Gears 5, we want to make sure that the Gears 5, it's going to be scaled perfectly for this device. So when you are, let's say you need to go to travel somewhere, right? Or you need to go somewhere and you want to continue where you left off playing the Gears 5, you'll be able to do so with this device. And you want to make sure that this device, it's able to scale that game perfectly for this device and the resolution over the internet. So that's good that they're doing that. That Phil Spencer is really trying to make this xCloud experience as best as it can be. Now, I want to say a couple of things. And this is for the people who kind of like are expecting too much this holiday season. Let me say a couple of things. Okay, this holiday season, when the Azure xCloud, Project xCloud, when it finally launches in October, late October, around Halloween, people need to remember a couple of things. Number one, don't expect everything to run smoothly at the first time round. Okay, there's going to be plenty of updates. There's going to be plenty of technical stuff that's going to need to be addressed. So you're going to need to give this xCloud some time. Probably, I would say around April next year, April 2020, you're going to see the xCloud being much more developed. Okay, but there's going to be some hiccups. And I don't want people to be put off and be negative right away. Oh, this failed technology, this doesn't work. Every new technology, it takes a little time to develop itself. Even with the Xbox Live, remember the Xbox Live? When they first implemented the Xbox Live in 2003, was it 2002 or 2003? I think it was 2003. 2003. If I'm wrong, you guys can correct me. For the Xbox, original Xbox, I think it was 2003 when they launched the Xbox Live. There were some hiccups. You know, the headset didn't work properly. The modem connection didn't. You know, there was problems. There was issues. But in course of time, by 2005, 2006, the Xbox Live has turned into this huge gaming service. Okay, probably one of the best online gaming service. Even to this day, it's probably one of the best gaming services out there. It's the Xbox Live. And so people need to understand it's going to take a little time. When they officially start launching this xCloud this late October, don't expect everything to run smooth the first time around. It's going to take some time. But by the end of April, spring, I think you're going to see how developed this service really is and how well it works. Okay, now before I end this video, as far as Google Stadia, I really don't know how to feel about Google Stadia. Google Stadia, you know, it's backed up by gigantic juggernaut of a company, meaning even if they fail, it doesn't matter. They can still sustain themselves because we're talking about a juggernaut, Google, right? Silicon Valley. But I don't know if people are going to adapt to it that quickly. Because, again, you have to look at the value. Look at the value you are getting with the Xbox brand versus the value that you're getting with the Google Stadia. I think you get a far better value with the Xbox, being the Xbox member. You get far more flexibility, far more variety in choices on how you want to play versus just being stuck to Google Stadia. And I think Sony is going to start to realize that pretty soon with the PlayStation 5, that hey, it's important to have these exclusive games, but it's not just about the exclusive games. We need to give Sony owners a value of this brand and how they can enjoy this brand. And I think this is something that Sony probably is learning from the Microsoft as to how they can bring this Sony brand, PlayStation brand, and how they can enjoy the PlayStation brand and take it with them and play it any which way they want. Like I said, I would love to see PlayStation brand have this ability to have some kind of a PlayStation app where you can play God of War natively, directly from your graphics card onto your computer. That's all. That would be awesome. Or Gran Turismo Sport, or any of these games that they have out there. And I think that might be something, that might be a direction that we might see PlayStation brand go into as well. And look, these are very exciting times. You know, it's just so overwhelmingly big right now. There's so much to unpack here. There's the gaming community. It's bigger than ever by the end of this year, and especially in 2020, it's bigger than ever. The ways you can play the video games is just simply unlike anything that I have seen in past 20-something, 25 years ago, and just how far we have come in terms of technology is truly groundbreaking. So these are the exciting times. Well, anyway, that's how I felt. I wanted to give you guys my take on this interview and take on what the Phil Spencer was saying. Like I said, I totally understand this bigger picture that Phil Spencer was working on, and I kept saying this. I kept saying it in 2017. I kept saying it in 2016. I kept saying that, you know, this is a bigger grand scheme, a bigger picture that Phil Spencer is painting here. The problem is gamers back then, they couldn't see that bigger picture. But me, I clearly see the bigger picture and what Phil Spencer wants to achieve with the Xbox brand. But let me know what you guys think. This video will be premiered, as you all know, it is premiered. This is already pre-recorded. This is not live, but you're watching it in the premiere. But let me know what you guys think. Leave a comment down below, how you feel about it. What are your thoughts? What are your opinions? So yeah, let me know down below. Other than that, sorry for the long video, but there was no other way for me to do this video than 30 minutes. I can't do a short 5-minute video. I'm sorry, guys, because I can't say what I want to say and force myself to say what I want to say in just 5 minutes. This is the only way I can express myself and my opinions and points of views that I'm trying to implement here. So thank you for understanding, and I'll catch you guys very soon. Have a good one. Take care.